Well, as I said, I don't know how I got talked into this. I guess I'm just a girl that can't say no. I'm going to recite a few of my favorite cowboy poems. One that I've written myself and some by favorite poets. The first one that I begin with is by Omar Barker. And he's a rancher in New Mexico, and he has a sense of humor. His folks named him Omar Barker, and he later added Squire to it so he could brand his cattle with SOB. And this poem is called Pert Near, and it's about, and there's a section in here about the conflict between the nesters and the cowboys. Any of you know what a nester is?
Is that a farmhouse? Homesteader?
A homesteader.
Yeah, homesteader.
My grandpa homesteaded 80 acres in La Plata County, Colorado in 1906. And my dad never did like cowboys, and I couldn't figure out why. And because my grandpa was a nester and the cowboys didn't like him in the middle of their range. So when I come to that part, you can picture the battle that went on between my grandpa and the cowboys. Omar, Pert Near Perkins by Omar Barker. They called him Pert Near Perkins, for unless the booger lied, he'd pert near done most everything that he'd ever tried. He'd pert near been a preacher, and he'd pert near roped a bear. He met up with Comanches once and pert near lost his hair. He'd pert near wed an heiress who had money by the keg. He'd pert near had the measles, and he'd pert near broke his leg. He'd pert near been a trail boss, and according to his claim, he'd pert near shot Bill Hickok, which had pert near won him fame. Now most of the cowboys on the lazy SB spread took his talking with a grin and let him fight his head. But one named Tom McGinnis sort of put it to him rough. You're riding with an outfit now where pert near ain't enough. We tie our last ropes to the horn, and what we catch we hold, and pert near as one alibi we never do unfold. In fact, I'm going to tell you that no word I ever hear can sound so plain damn useless as that little pair pert near. Well, it sounded mighty tough the way Tom laid it out upon the line, and like a heap of preaching talk, it sounded mighty fine. But one day, Tom McGinnis was out riding off alone and lamed his horse and had to catch a neighbor nester's roan to ride back to the ranch on. But somewhere along the way, them nesters met up with Tom, and there was hell to pay. They cussed him for a horse thief, said they caught him with the goods, and set right out to hang him in a nearby patch of woods. They had old Tom surrounded with their guns all fixed to shoot, and this cowboy pert near knowed he'd heard his last owl hoot. They tied a rope around his neck and throwed it o'er a limb, and Tom McGinnis pert near knowed this was the last of him. Then suddenly a shot rang out from somewhere up the hill, and them nesters dropped the rope and run like nesters sometimes will when bullets start to whizzin'. And Tom's heart leaped up in hope as he saw old Pert Near Perkins riding towards him at a rope. Looks like I pert near got here just in time, old Pert Near Perkins said, to see them nesters hang you. Tom's face got kind of red. You're pert near dead, he pert near said. They pert near had me strung. You're looking at a cowboy that's pert near just been hung, but also one that's changed his mind for no word ever said can sound so sweet as pert near when a man's been pert near dead.
Yes.
Well, this next one ties into the cowboy poetry, the poems that the cowboy recited, and songs that sometimes where the poem came from. This one is called A Bad Half Hour by Badger Clark. Wonder why I feel so restless. Moon is shining still and bright, and the cattle all are standing easy. But I just can't sleep tonight. There ain't no cactus in my blanket. Don't know why they feel so hard, lest it's warbling Jim a singing Annie Laurie out on guard. Annie Laurie, wish she quit it. Couldn't sleep now if I tried. Makes the night seem big and lonesome and my throat feels sore inside. How my Annie used to sing it, and it sounded good and gay. Nights I drove her home from dances when the east was turning gray. Yes, her brow was like a snowdrift, and her eyes like quiet streams. And her face, I still can see it much too frequent in my dreams. And her hand was soft and trembly that night underneath the tree, when I couldn't help but tell her she was all the world to me. But her folks said I was shiftless, wild, unsettled, and they was right, for I leaned to punching cattle, and I'm at it still tonight. So she married young Doc Wilkins. Oh my Lord, but that was hard. Wish that fool would quit his singing Annie Laurie out on guard. I just can't stand it thinking of the things that happened then, good old times, and all that past me never seem to come again. My turn? Sure, I'll come a-running, you warm me up some coffee card. But I'll stop that Jim from singing Annie Laurie out on guard. Maxwell's praise our Bonnie, where early falls the dew. And 'twas there that Annie Laurie gave me her promise true. Gave me her promise true, and ne'er forgot would be. And for Bonnie Annie Laurie, I lay me down and die. Yes, for Bonnie Annie Laurie, I lay me down and die. So let's sing a few songs. You've got the cheat sheet in front of you. Bonnie will play the piano. If you can keep up with her, then we'll have some music.
Hope I can remember this. Okay, you sound pretty good. You're getting warmed up for singing time, aren't you? Good. Anything else you want to do here?
Do another one.
All right, maybe this Red River Valley. Let's see if we can. How many of you know that one? All right.
Cheat sheet.
Here we go. 1, 2.
roping calves and getting your rope tangled up, you have a heck of a job trying to get it untangled.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, this is a poem I wrote about my childhood. I grew up on a ranch in Colorado, and all ranches there had what they called the outhouse or the privy.
It was a social house.
Privies were not private. They were built to be social. If you ever went inside a privy, and many of you did, I think, probably your young folks about like me, you found that there was at least 2 holes in a privy, and sometimes 3, and sometimes 4. Sometimes there was a grandpa hole and a little kid hole and 2 others in between, and that meant that they were supposed to be shared. That no rancher, no farmer would make extra holes if he didn't avoid it. So this is my privy social life. Privies were not private when I was a kid. Though kids sought to sit in privacy the way that grown folks did, we'd be settled down upon the bench all nested up with care when some grown-up had come busting in our privacy to share. They'd look like something urgent had come across their mind and had to find a privy place to let it all unwind. Kids couldn't keep 'em out, no way to bar the door, so we'd duck our heads and keep our eyes downcast on the floor, 'cause private parts would get unveiled within a privy's walls. And kids who peeked at privates had their manners overhauled. So we had to sit and listen while they played the fiddle out and tolerate the aromas. It was rank and plenty stout. But just let a kid in urgent need try busting through the door with some grown-up homesteading there. They'd keep him out for sure. And he'd have to wait in misery or find another spot to get the chance to take relief so desperately he sought. One day, I sat in privacy in Granddad's old outhouse, and I was hibernated there as quiet as a mouse when my pretty cousin Katie came skipping to the door and asked to share the bench with me. I grinned and answered, sure. I'd be glad to have her sit a spell and keep me company. But she did her business smartly, just as quick as 1, 2, 3, and left me sitting wishing that she lengthened out her stay, but she had other things to do, and quickly went away. Well, the time I got trapped on the bench with Great Aunt Susie Gale is quite another story with a different kind of tale. A flogging through the door she came, a hitching up her skirt, and it wasn't 30 seconds till my nose began to hurt. And she stayed and lingered on for an eternity or more, while I sat and studied shadows as they crept across the floor, because I didn't dare to rise up and shine my little moon. So I had to wait in misery till her doing got all done. Nowadays, kids have got it made when they go to do their thing, with porcelain thrones to sit upon, all white and shiny clean. And privacy is guaranteed with bathrooms just 1 hole, so grown-ups can't come trotting in to share the lone commode. But these kids don't learn the privy rules of social do's and don'ts and respect for other people's needs and nature's wills and won'ts. We improved our education by thumbing through the stuff in the Sears and Roebuck Wish Book. And I'll tell you, sure enough, we learned about entomology in privy summertime from the wasps and bees and spiders nesting close to our behinds. And patience was a virtue for which the need was clear, as you had to keep from swatting flies and crawling on your rear. All sure kids got a little honor when time came for Halloween, and we'd tip the biffy over, and folks would cuss and scream if they were needing the outhouse when we did this dreadful thing, and call us names that were cruel and downright mean. And school teachers would sometimes find their jake tipped after school by kids who got in trouble and rode the old unstool. And newlyweds would often find the biffy upside down from the crowd that came to shivaree the bride and groom around. Some now try to find old privy holes and learn about the past, and become privyologists with knowledge deep and vast. They poke around in outhouseholds and seek exciting finds that fell down piffy holes or whatever they could find. I look back upon Two Polar Days with nostalgic memory, but I don't regret a minute that it's part of history.
Who's gone toilet tipping?
Which one, what?
I've used it.
Toilet tipping,
What's
Did
that?
you?
outhouse tipping.
That's what you did at Halloween.
Halloween.
Did you do that?
Did you do it with
Yes.
somebody in it?
We did, we
Did you
did.
fold it over on the door so they couldn't get out?
We lassoed, they let the kids, the boys lassoed it, and then it hooked it to the car and pulled it.
We tipped it, but nobody was in it.
Well, there was somebody in this
We
one.
just,
Yeah, that'd be exciting, if somebody get trapped in there, they have to crawl out through one of the holes.
Yeah.
Well, I had a true scary story. I was 4 around 1943 in the privy, and I heard the gun go off. And I felt BBs in my arms. Guys were walking down the road in this farming area, and they were shooting at our privy. And
They didn't know.
And then I discover, when my mother discovers it, she goes out and starts to wring their necks. She was a tough lady. That's a true story.
We
You
had,
gotta talk about it.
Pardon?
we had indoor plumbing where I lived.
well, this guy hooked up a microphone to a two-holer. And some lady went in to use it, and he threw the microphone, he said, "Lady, could you use the other hole? I'm painting down here."
Oh, that's funny.
Well, there's lots of stories about privies. Cowboy poetry tends to deal with privies and associated things a lot. Well, I'm gonna finish with a poem about rancher's heaven. An old rancher died and left behind his wife of many years. She missed him so, but don't you know she dried up all her tears when she heard of a fortune teller who could talk to the other side. She'd never really believed in that stuff, but decided to give it a try. So she went to see the clairvoyant and praying it weren't no prank, asked to be put in touch with her dear departed Frank. The psychic started chanting, and soon a voice rang clear. "Who in the hell's disturbing my work?" "Why, it's me, Frank, Marion down here." "Well, Marion, how are you doing?" "Oh, not bad for a grieving wife. I just wanted to see how you're getting along there in the afterlife." "Well, truthfully, it couldn't be any better. There's blue sky as far as you see, and big white fluffy clouds float over my head, and grass clear up to my knees, and there's cows. Hundreds of beautiful cows. They're grazing all over the place. Why, all I've done since I got here is walk around with a smile on my face." "Well, Frank, it's good to know that you're happy, and I'm glad for talking to you. And it's nice that on that heavenly ranch you'll always have something to do." "Oh, Marion, I've plenty to keep me busy, and each day they give me a quota. But Marion, I ain't up in heaven. I'm a bull out in South Dakota." That's the end of it.
Thank
Good job, honey. He amazes me, he can still remember all this stuff, and that's only about a third of what he knows. So, he picked his favorites. Good job.
That was great.
Yeah, you heard me.
Loved it.
Bringing all that good food and bringing yourselves and just sharing some time together. It's wonderful to see everybody. I've missed you. So
Well, thank you, Bonnie.
We miss you
Yes.
too, Bonnie.
Yes.
hopefully we'll see more of each other
Now, we start our practice next Monday,
Monday. We do.
9 o'clock.
And my plan is this. You know, we don't practice on a holiday.